I was sitting on my porch swing on a warm Saturday afternoon, watching my 6-year-old grandson Lucas play with his toy trucks in my front yard when he looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said in his innocent, matter-of-fact voice, "Grandma, Mom says she doesn't want you around anymore." The words came out so casually, like he was telling me what he'd had for lunch, but they hit me like a freight train, not just because of what they meant, but because of how easily he said them, like he'd heard his mother say those words so many times, they'd become normal to him. I felt my breath catch in my throat as I asked him gently, "What do you mean, sweetheart?" And he shrugged and said, "Mom told Dad that you make everything about you and that we'd all be better off if you just stayed away." In that moment, I realized that my daughter Jennifer hadn't just been distancing herself from me. She'd been systematically poisoning my grandchildren against me, teaching them that I was someone to avoid, someone who didn't deserve their love. And I knew with absolute certainty that this wasn't just about me. This was something deeper, something darker, something that had been passed down through generations of silence. And if I didn't speak up now, if I didn't break this cycle, Lucas and his sister Emma would grow up believing that love meant pushing people away when they became inconvenient. My name is Ann Williams, and I'm 72 years old. I live in a small brick house on Magnolia Street in Charleston, South Carolina, the same house where my late husband Thomas and I raised our 2 children over 44 years of marriage. Thomas died 8 years ago from complications of heart disease. He was a postal worker, a steady man who provided for our family through decades of faithful work and who loved our children with a quiet, constant devotion. We had 2 children, my son Marcus, who lives in Atlanta with his wife and 3 children, and my daughter Jennifer, who lives here in Charleston with her husband David and their 2 children, Lucas, who's 6, and Emma, who's 8. For the past year, I'd been feeling Jennifer pulling away from me. Our weekly dinners became bi-weekly, then monthly, then sporadic. Phone calls went unreturned. Invitations were declined with vague excuses. "We're just so busy, Mom. The kids have activities. David's working overtime." I tried not to take it personally. I told myself that Jennifer was overwhelmed with work and parenting and life, that this was just a phase. But Lucas's words made everything suddenly, terribly clear. This wasn't about being busy. This was deliberate. Jennifer was pushing me out of her life, out of her children's lives, and she was teaching them that I was the problem. If you've ever had your own grandchild innocently repeat words that reveal how much your own child has been talking badly about you, you know the particular pain I felt. It's not just hurt. It's a betrayal that cuts across generations, a poison that's being passed to innocent children. I looked at Lucas playing with his trucks, completely unaware of how devastating his casual comment had been. At 6 years old, he was just repeating what he'd heard. He didn't understand the weight of those words. "Lucas, sweetheart, come sit with me for a minute." He climbed up onto the porch swing beside me, his little legs dangling. "When did Mom say that about Grandma?" "Last week. Her and Dad were talking in the kitchen after we went to bed, but I came downstairs to get water and I heard them." "What else did you hear?" He thought about it. "Mom said you always criticize her and that she's tired of feeling like she's not good enough. And Dad said maybe she should just talk to you, but Mom said there's no point because you never listen." Each word was another knife. Jennifer thought I criticized her, that I made her feel inadequate, that I didn't listen. "Lucas, has Mom said other things about Grandma? Other times?" "Sometimes. She tells Emma not to tell you about stuff that happens at school because you'll make it a big thing. And last month, when you invited us for Easter, Mom said to Dad that she'd rather do anything else than spend a whole day listening to you." I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I held them back. Lucas was watching me with concern. "Are you sad, Grandma?" "A little bit, sweetheart, but that's okay. Sometimes grown-ups have problems they need to work out." "Did you do something bad?" "I don't think so, but sometimes people see things differently." "Your mom thinks I did something to hurt her, and I need to understand what that is. Lucas hugged me. I don't think you're bad, Grandma. I like when you're around. Thank you, baby. I like being around you too. After Lucas's father, David, picked him up an hour later, I sat on my porch trying to make sense of what I'd learned. Jennifer thought I criticized her, that I made everything about me, that she and her family would be better off without me. But I couldn't think of a single conversation where I'd criticized her parenting or made things about myself. I'd always tried to be supportive, helpful, encouraging. Had I missed something? Had I hurt her without realizing it? I called my son Marcus in Atlanta. When I told him what Lucas had said and what Jennifer had apparently been saying about me, he was quiet for a long moment. Mama, I need to tell you something. Jennifer's been saying things about you to me, too. What things? She called me about 3 months ago. She said she was tired of you being so controlling, so critical of her life choices. She said you favored me and my kids over her and hers. She said you'd always made her feel like she wasn't good enough. I felt like I'd been punched. Marcus, I don't favor you over Jennifer. I love you both equally. I know that, Mama. I told her that. But she insisted, you've always treated me better, given me more attention, been more supportive of my choices. Is that what she really thinks? Mama, I think there's something else going on, something deeper than just recent stuff. Jennifer mentioned something about when we were kids, about you and her being different, about always feeling like an outsider in our family. An outsider? My daughter had felt like an outsider in her own family? Marcus, I don't understand. What did I do? I don't think it's about what you did. I think it's about what Jennifer perceived. And I think maybe it goes back further than you realize. After I hung up with Marcus, I sat thinking about Jennifer's childhood. Had there been signs I'd missed? Moments where she'd felt excluded or less loved? I thought about a memory from when Jennifer was 8 years old. We'd been at a family gathering, my mother's house, for Thanksgiving. Jennifer had wanted to help in the kitchen, but my mother had shooed her away. Go play with your cousins, Jennifer. The kitchen is for adults. But Marcus, who was 10, had been allowed to help carry dishes and had been praised for being such a good helper. I'd noticed it at the time, but hadn't said anything. My mother was old-fashioned, believed boys should be taught responsibility while girls should be kept childlike as long as possible. Had there been other moments like that? Moments where Jennifer had been treated differently, excluded, dismissed? I thought about my mother, Jennifer's grandmother, a woman who'd been cold and critical, especially to me, who'd never seemed satisfied with anything I did, who'd compared me unfavorably to my brother constantly, and I thought about how I'd survived that. I told myself I'd be different with my own children. I'd be warm, supportive, encouraging. But had I been? Or had I unconsciously passed down some of the same patterns? I needed to talk to Jennifer directly. I needed to understand what she'd been holding on to, what pain she'd been carrying. So I called her. She answered on the 4th ring, her voice wary. Mom? Jennifer, I need to talk to you. Can you come over, or can I come to you? I'm busy right now. Please, it's important. Lucas told me something today that I need to understand. What did he tell you? That you don't want me around anymore. That you told David I criticize you and make everything about me. He wasn't supposed to hear that. But he did, and apparently he's heard a lot of things. Jennifer, why didn't you just talk to me? Why have you been pulling away and talking about me behind my back instead of telling me what's wrong? Because there's no point. You never listen. You never see how you make people feel. Then help me see. Come over. Talk to me. Help me understand. She was quiet for so long, I thought she'd hung up. Fine, I'll be there in an hour. I spent that hour praying for wisdom, for patience, for the right words. I also spent it thinking about my own mother, about the patterns that might have been passed down without me realizing. When Jennifer arrived, she looked defensive before she even sat down, arms crossed, jaw tight, eyes avoiding mine. I'm here. What do you want to say? I want to understand why you've been pulling away, why you've been telling your children and Marcus, and apparently David, that I'm critical and controlling and that you'd be better off without me. Because it's true, you are critical. You do try to control everything. Can you give me examples? Because I genuinely don't know what you're talking about. She laughed bitterly. Of course you don't. You never do. That's the whole problem. Then tell me, please, I'm listening. Jennifer stood up and started pacing. Do you remember when I told you I was pregnant with Emma, what you said? I thought back 8 years. I said I was thrilled, that I couldn't wait to be a grandmother. No, the first thing you said was, are you sure you're ready? You and David haven't been married that long. Like I'd made a mistake, like I couldn't possibly know what I was doing. I did remember saying something like that, but I'd meant it as concern, not criticism. I was worried you were overwhelmed. You and David were still figuring out your marriage. See, even now you're defending it. You questioned my decision to have a baby, but when Marcus and Denise got pregnant after 6 months of marriage, you threw them a shower and told everyone how excited you were. That's not, I was excited for you too. After you made it clear you thought I was making a mistake, I felt defensive but tried to stay open. Okay, I hear that. When I decided to go back to work after having Lucas, you told me some babies need their mothers at home more than others. Like I was abandoning my son, like I was a bad mother for wanting a career. Had I said that? I searched my memory and found it. A comment I'd made meant to acknowledge that every family is different, but that had apparently landed as judgment. I didn't mean, it doesn't matter what you meant. What matters is how it made me feel, and you do it constantly. Every choice I make, every decision about my kids or my marriage or my life, you have something to say about it. Some little comment that makes me feel like I'm doing everything wrong. I'm trying to be helpful. You're being critical. There's a difference. The room was silent except for Jennifer's heavy breathing. She looked like years of held-back anger were finally pouring out. What else? I asked quietly. You want to know what else? Fine. Let's go back to childhood. Do you know what it was like being your daughter? Being compared to Marcus constantly? I never compared you. Not out loud, but he was the golden child. He could do no wrong. When he brought home B's, you said he was doing his best. When I brought home B's, you asked why they weren't A's. When he wanted to play sports, you drove him to every practice and cheered at every game. When I wanted to do theater, you said it was fine, but you never came to my performances. I came to your performances. 3 times, Mom. 3 times in 4 years of high school theater. But you went to every single one of Marcus's football games. I felt like the ground was shifting under me. Jennifer, I didn't realize. Of course you didn't. Because you were so focused on Marcus that you barely saw me. I was the convenient child, the one who didn't cause problems, the one who took care of herself. So you just ignored me and poured all your attention into him. Tears were streaming down her face now. Do you know what it's like to feel invisible to your own mother? To feel like you could disappear and no one would notice? I thought about my own mother, about feeling exactly that way as a child, about being the daughter who could never measure up to my brother, about the constant criticism, the lack of attention, the feeling of being less important. I'd sworn I wouldn't do that to my children, but apparently I had. At least to Jennifer. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I didn't see it. I didn't realize. And that's exactly the problem. You didn't see me. You still don't. But there was something else beneath Jennifer's anger, something I recognized because I'd felt it too. Jennifer, I need to ask you something. Did your grandmother, my mother, treat you differently than she treated Marcus? She looked surprised. What? Did she favor him, make comments about you, treat you as less important? Jennifer's face changed. Yes, she always said boys were more important than girls, that boys carried on the family name. that girls were just going to marry and become part of someone else's family anyway. She said the same kinds of things to me growing up, about my brother being more important, more valuable. I know, I heard her. Did I ever defend you when she said those things? Jennifer thought about it. Sometimes, but not always. Sometimes you just let her say them. And there it was, the pattern passing down through generations. My mother had favored my brother. I'd internalized that pain. And then, without meaning to, I'd recreated some of those dynamics with my own children. I hadn't seen Jennifer. I'd focused more on Marcus. I'd been unconsciously passing down the same wound that had been inflicted on me. Jennifer, I owe you an apology, a real one, not just for the recent comments or the ways I've been critical without realizing it, but for your whole childhood, for not seeing you the way you deserve to be seen, for not paying enough attention, for letting you feel invisible. She was crying harder now. Why wasn't I enough? Why did Marcus always matter more? You were enough. You were always enough. But I was broken in ways I didn't understand. My mother made me feel worthless as a girl, as a daughter, and I thought I'd overcome that. I thought I'd been different with you, but I wasn't. I just passed it down in more subtle ways. So what do I do with that? How do I forgive you for making me feel the way your mother made you feel? I don't know if you can or should, but I'm asking you not to pass it down again, not to Emma. Don't let this poison reach another generation. Jennifer looked at me with red eyes. That's why I've been pulling away, because I'm terrified I'm going to do to Emma what you did to me, what Grandma did to you. I see myself criticizing her, favoring Lucas without meaning to, and I hate it. And I blame you for teaching me how to do it. You're right to blame me. I did teach you, through my actions, even if not through my words. But Jennifer, you can break this. You can be the one who stops it. But not by pushing me away and teaching Lucas and Emma that I'm someone to avoid. That just creates a different kind of wound. So what am I supposed to do? We face it together. We talk about it honestly. We acknowledge the pain and work to heal it instead of running from it or repeating it. Jennifer sat back down, exhausted. I don't know if I can forgive you, Mom. I understand. But can you stop teaching my grandchildren to avoid me? Can you stop poisoning them against me because of your own pain? They need to understand. They need to understand the truth, not a twisted version that makes me the villain. I hurt you. I failed you in important ways, but I also loved you. I still love you. And whatever problems we have, they're ours to work through, not Lucas's and Emma's burden to carry. We sat in silence for a long time. Then Jennifer said quietly, Grandma was mean to you. I remember that. She criticized everything you did, made you feel small. Yes. You never stood up to her. You just took it. I didn't know how to stand up to her. She was my mother. I thought I had to just accept it. Is that what you want me to do? Just accept the way you treated me? No, I want you to speak up, to tell me when I hurt you, to give me a chance to do better, but also to acknowledge that I wasn't all bad, that there were good things too, along with the failures. Jennifer nodded slowly. There were good things. You were there when I needed you, even if you didn't see me the way I wanted to be seen. You supported me through my divorce from my first husband, even though you'd been worried about that marriage from the beginning. You helped with Emma when she was born, even though I'd pushed you away during the pregnancy. I tried. I didn't always succeed, but I tried. I know. We talked for 2 more hours about specific memories, specific hurts, specific patterns. It was painful. It was raw, but it was also honest in a way we'd never been before. And at the end, Jennifer said something that gave me hope. I don't want Lucas and Emma to grow up feeling the way I did. I don't want them to feel invisible or less important or like they have to be perfect to be loved. Then don't teach them that love means pushing people away when things get hard. Don't teach them that family problems are solved through silence and distance. teach them that we can hurt each other and still work through it. Is that what we're doing, working through it? I hope so. Are you willing to try? She nodded slowly. But I need you to actually change, Mom, not just apologize. I need you to really see me, really listen to me, really try to be different. I will, I promise. And if I slip up, because I probably will, I need you to tell me. Don't let it build up for years. Don't pull away and talk to everyone except me. Just tell me. Okay. Over the next several weeks, Jennifer and I started having regular conversations, real ones, hard ones. We talked about our family history, about my mother's coldness, about the patterns that had been passed down through generations. I also started therapy with a counselor who specialized in family dynamics and generational trauma. In our sessions, I began to understand how much of my mother's treatment of me I'd unconsciously absorbed and repeated. The therapist, Dr. Sarah Henderson, helped me see something I'd never realized. Anne, you survived your mother's neglect by becoming invisible, by not needing attention, by being self-sufficient. And then you unconsciously expected Jennifer to do the same thing. When she needed more attention, more validation, more active parenting, you didn't know how to give it because you'd never received it yourself. But I gave everything to Marcus. Why was it different with him? Because he was the firstborn, because he was a boy, and your mother had taught you that boys mattered more. Because you were trying to give him what you never got. But in doing so, you recreated for Jennifer the exact experience you'd had being the overlooked daughter. The insight was devastating and clarifying at the same time. I also learned something else from Dr. Henderson. The fact that Jennifer spoke up, even if it was through pulling away and saying hurtful things, is actually healthy. She didn't accept the pattern. She recognized it was wrong. She may not have handled it perfectly, but she refused to just suffer in silence the way you did with your mother. So what do I do now? You do exactly what you're doing. You acknowledge the truth, you apologize genuinely, you work to change, and you model for your grandchildren what it looks like to repair relationships instead of abandoning them. I also invited Jennifer to attend some therapy sessions with me. We did family therapy together, working through specific memories and hurts with Dr. Henderson's guidance. In one session, Jennifer brought up something I'd completely forgotten. When she was 14, she'd won a state award for a theater performance. I've missed the ceremony because Marcus had a football playoff game the same night. You chose his game over my award, Jennifer said, crying. And when I told you how hurt I was, you said I was being selfish. That family supports family, but you weren't supporting me. You were only supporting him. I remembered that now. I genuinely believed I was being fair by going to Marcus's game since I'd been to many of Jennifer's performances, but I'd been counting wrong. I'd been to 3 of her performances and over 30 of his games. I'm so sorry. I should have been at your ceremony. That was a huge achievement, and I missed it because I wasn't paying attention to the imbalance. Do you know how many times I came in second to Marcus? How many times my achievements were minimized because his were happening at the same time? Too many. Far too many. These sessions were painful but necessary. Each time we uncovered another memory, another hurt, I felt the weight of what I'd done to my daughter, not out of malice, but out of unconscious patterns and unhealed wounds. But I also saw Jennifer starting to heal, starting to feel heard, starting to believe that maybe we could build something new. One evening, about 2 months after Lucas's initial comment, Jennifer brought both kids to my house for dinner. It was tentative, careful, but it was a start. During dinner, Emma asked, "Grandma, are you and Mom friends again?" Jennifer and I looked at each other. "We're working on it, sweetheart," I said. "Sometimes when people hurt each other, it takes time to heal, but we're trying." "Lucas said you were bad and Mom didn't want you around," Emma said matter-of-factly. Jennifer's face went pale. "Emma, that's not. I shouldn't have said those things. Grandma isn't bad. We just had some problems we needed to talk about." But you said? I know what I said, and I was wrong to say it where you and Lucas could hear. Grown-up problems should be handled by grown-ups, not discussed in front of children. So we can see Grandma again? Yes, we're going to see her regularly again. Lucas, who'd been playing with his food, looked up. I'm glad. I missed Grandma. After dinner, while the kids played in the backyard, Jennifer and I sat on the porch. I talked to Emma's teacher, Jennifer said quietly. She told me Emma's been having trouble at school, getting into conflicts with other girls, saying mean things, excluding people from games. Is she okay? I think she's been acting out what she was hearing at home. Me talking badly about you, pushing you away. She was learning that's how you handle relationships when they're difficult. You just cut people out. What are you going to do? We're getting her into counseling, and I'm going to be more careful about what I say and where I say it. I don't want to teach my kids that love means pushing people away when things get hard. That's exactly what my mother taught me, and what I accidentally taught you. Then let's make sure it stops with us. Let's teach Lucas and Emma something different. Over the following months, Jennifer and I continued working on our relationship. We had weekly dinners. We talked openly when problems came up instead of letting them fester. We acknowledged the past while trying to build something healthier. I also made a conscious effort to pay equal attention to both Jennifer and Marcus. To attend Emma's school events with the same enthusiasm I showed for Marcus's children's activities. To ask about Jennifer's work with genuine interest. To really see her the way I should have been seeing her all along. And I noticed something shifting in Jennifer. She seemed lighter, less burdened. She smiled more. One Sunday afternoon, about 6 months after our breakthrough conversation, Jennifer and I were working in my garden together while the kids played. Mom, I need to tell you something. What is it? I've been going to therapy too, working on my own stuff, and my therapist helped me see something. I was holding on to so much anger toward you that it was poisoning everything in my life. My relationship with David, my parenting, my friendships. I was so focused on how you'd hurt me that I couldn't see how I was hurting the people around me. I'm glad you're getting help. She also helped me see that you weren't all bad, that there were good things about my childhood too. I was so focused on what was missing that I forgot what was there. Like what? Like how you always made sure we had birthday parties, even when money was tight. Like how you taught me to sew and cook. Like how you sat up with me all night when I had pneumonia in 5th grade. Like how you supported me through my divorce, even though I knew you were disappointed. I felt tears forming. I did love you, Jennifer. I still do. Even when I was failing you. I know, and I think I'm finally able to forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because holding on to the anger was destroying me. We hugged, both of us crying, while Lucas and Emma watched from the swing set. Why are you crying? Lucas called out. Sometimes people cry when they're happy, Jennifer called back. Come here, both of you. The kids ran over, and Jennifer pulled them into the hug with us. I want you two to see this, Jennifer said to them. Grandma and I had problems. We hurt each other, but we didn't give up. We talked about it, we worked through it, and we're healing. That's what family does. We don't throw each other away when things get hard. We work through it. So Grandma's not bad? Lucas asked. Grandma's not bad. She made mistakes, like everyone does, but she's a good person who loves us, and I was wrong to say otherwise. Emma looked at me. I'm sorry I was mean to Sarah at school, Grandma. I was doing what I thought Mom was doing, pushing people away when they made me mad. I understand, sweetheart, but that's not the answer. When people hurt you, you talk to them about it. You give them a chance to do better. That's what you and Mom did? Yes, and it was hard. But it was worth it. Now, if you're listening to this story, if you're an older parent whose adult child has been pulling away, speaking badly about you to others, teaching your grandchildren to avoid you, I need you to hear this. Sometimes the problem isn't just about recent events. Sometimes it goes back years, decades, even generations. Sometimes there are patterns of hurt that have been passed down through families without anyone fully understanding them. And sometimes the only way to heal is to break the silence, to speak the truth even when it's uncomfortable, to acknowledge the pain instead of pretending it doesn't exist. I hurt my daughter. I didn't mean to, but I did. I failed to see her, failed to give her the attention and validation she needed, failed to break the patterns my own mother had established. And when she started pulling away, my first instinct was to be defensive, to insist I'd done nothing wrong, to blame her for being too sensitive. But when I finally listened, really listened, I understood, and I was able to apologize genuinely and work toward change. If your child is distancing themselves from you, ask yourself honestly, is there truth in their grievances? Are there patterns from your own childhood that you might have unconsciously repeated? Are there ways you failed them that you haven't acknowledged? This doesn't mean accepting false accusations or allowing abuse. But it does mean being willing to look at your own behavior honestly. And if your child won't talk to you directly, if they're instead speaking badly about you to your grandchildren and other family members, you need to address it. Not with anger or defensiveness, but with a genuine desire to understand and heal. Because here's the truth, silence protects the abuser, not the victim. If there are patterns of hurt in your family, staying silent about them doesn't make them go away. It just ensures they'll be passed down to the next generation. Family loyalty means nothing if it requires erasing your own dignity or accepting undeserved cruelty. But it also means being willing to acknowledge when you've caused harm, even unintentionally. Speaking up, even when it hurts, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it risks conflict, is the only way to stop emotional inheritance from repeating in the next generation. I spoke up. I acknowledged the truth of how I'd hurt Jennifer. I apologized genuinely and worked to change. And Jennifer spoke up too. She stopped suffering in silence. She stopped just pulling away and instead confronted me directly. It was painful, it was messy, but it was necessary. And now Lucas and Emma are learning something different than what Jennifer and I learned from our mothers. They're learning that when relationships are broken, you can repair them. That when someone hurts you, you can speak up. That family doesn't mean suffering in silence or pushing people away. It means working through the hard things together. If you're in a situation where your child has been distancing themselves and speaking badly about you, here's what you need to do. First, try to have an honest conversation. Ask them directly what's wrong. Listen without getting defensive. Try to understand their perspective even if it hurts to hear. Second, look at your family history. Are there patterns from previous generations that might be playing out? Were you treated in ways that you might have unconsciously repeated? Third, be willing to apologize for real hurts. Not just say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." Take responsibility for your actions, even if they were unintentional. Fourth, if your child is teaching your grandchildren to avoid you or speaking badly about you to them, address it directly. Explain that adult problems should be handled by adults, not used to manipulate children. And fifth, consider family therapy. Sometimes you need a neutral third party to help navigate these conversations and uncover patterns you can't see on your own. I'm not going to tell you that everything will be fixed quickly or that all relationships can be repaired. Sometimes the damage is too deep. Sometimes people aren't willing to do the work. But I am going to tell you that staying silent, pretending there's no problem, or just accepting that your child has pulled away, that doesn't protect anyone. It just ensures the pattern continues. I broke the pattern. Jennifer broke the pattern. And together, we're teaching Lucas and Emma that families can heal, that hurt can be acknowledged and worked through, that love isn't about perfection, but about showing up and trying. Your family deserves that too. Don't be afraid to speak the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to acknowledge your own mistakes. And don't be afraid to demand that your adult children stop using your grandchildren as weapons in their own unresolved pain. You deserve dignity. Your grandchildren deserve to grow up without being taught to fear or avoid their grandmother. And your child deserves the chance to heal from whatever hurt they're carrying. But that healing can only happen if everyone is willing to break the silence and face the truth. I faced it. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was worth it. Because now when Lucas looks at me, he doesn't see someone his mother told him to avoid. He sees his grandma who loves him, who made mistakes but is working to do better, who's part of his family. That's worth all the uncomfortable conversations, all the painful memories, all the hard work. Your grandchildren deserve to know you, and you deserve to be known. Break the silence. Speak the truth. Work toward healing. It's the only way to stop the cycle. And somewhere in Charleston, there's a 72-year-old grandmother who did exactly that, who faced her own failures, apologized genuinely, and rebuilt a relationship with her daughter and grandchildren, who's teaching the next generation that love means working through the hard things, not running from them. You can too. Stand in your truth, acknowledge your mistakes, but also stand in your worth. You deserve healing. Your family deserves healing. And it starts with refusing to stay silent.